As I was recording these videos, I realized that I think I might actually need to do a better job explaining what surrender looks like at the moment you recognize that there is some type of thought or emotion that you do not want to deal with. And we'll actually kind of go through a guided version of this because it's really, really important. So, a lot of people in that first level, right? Something happens, we learn to accept it, but then we start to develop this more acute, finite level of awareness where all of a sudden we have thoughts and emotions. And in order to understand kind of how we want to treat these, I think it's important to understand how these have probably been treated for most of your life, which is something negative or uncomfortable comes up. Maybe it's a thought like, oh my God, am I going to die? Or like, is something bad going to happen? Or an emotion like you start to feel really sad about something that happened. The ego is really kind of all about self-protection and self-preservation. And so ways that we'll engage that is to suppress it, which means not even acknowledge it, project it, which means just like act it out immediately, escape, like distract ourselves. Like, so you're feeling like shit, you go get a bowl of ice cream, basically make yourself feel better. And any kind of way you slice it, what we're not doing is we're not sitting with it and acknowledging it. And this is really, really key because specifically with emotions, a lot of times like this stuff, it just gets kind of stored inside of our consciousness, it can even get stored in the tissues of our body and our energetic body. And we don't want that because we end up carrying it around and it ends up driving our life unconsciously. So as you encounter an emotion or, a thought form, one of the ways to deal with this, specifically definitely emotions or patterns, which are kind of thought forms, is to observe it and move into sensation in the body. And so let's say a pattern that I have is that I'm really angry at someone. And when I notice that, I go, oh, look, there's anger. What I immediately can do is I can move into sensation after the observation. So where do I feel this in my body? A lot of times we feel it like in the tightness of our chest. And instead of trying to do anything with it, we just allow it to be there. Like I like to think of like opening up my arms and welcoming it and just observing it. And what tends to happen is that tightness or that feeling kind of gradually expand and dissolve. And that's what we want to happen. That's really kind of like if you've ever seen those videos of animals experiencing trauma where they're like shaking and then they're like, allow it to like release and they're like, ah. This is kind of that on a micro level where you do not want to be storing it. You want to let the energy behind that dissolve and move on. And so, that's how you can treat these in real time. And as that happens, this isn't necessary, but it is a step that you can take. You can choose to replace that emotion with some other type of quality of feeling. I have these 5 heart qualities I learned from this program called Ren Shui, which are trust, openness, love, gratitude, and what I'll call reverence. Reverence for all and unconditional versions of these attributes. And so you experience anger, you let it dissolve, and then maybe you want to just replace it with whatever comes to you spontaneously, which could be love. You feel that well into your heart center. And as that happens, every cell in your body, in the consciousness, which is the creator of the body, starts to change, starts to move more to that compelling, open-hearted place that is the natural state of your true being once it's stripped of all the programming. And so that's one way you can deal with it. Another way, as you become more advanced and the energy just kind of moves on its own rapidly, is merely observation. So it's, oh, look at that doubt. Oh, I thought I was sick. I was doubting my body. Oh, look at that. That's funny. And just give it up to the stillness. And in that thought form, instead of getting cemented into our being, can move on and we don't have to deal with it. The last way, which I would also maybe consider a little bit more of an advanced practice, is called self-inquiry. There's a whole lineage of basically how to get enlightened around this idea, but the methodology is to basically ask a question, and specifically, who am I, or who is this one who feels X, thinks X, blah, blah, blah. And then you just kind of rest in the stillness and see what answer appears. And in this instance, I could say, I notice I'm angry, but that's interesting. Close my eyes, I drop into stillness, and who is this one that is angry? Not seeking to answer anything, but just moving into sensation and seeing if any thought forms arise. And what you eventually come to realize is that there's no one there. And this looking and not finding anything is confusing to the ego construct. And gradually over time, it weakens it. And the shift of identification with thoughts and emotions moves back into identification with the stillness, the ever-present quiet, the experiencer, which is consciousness itself. And so these are different tools in the toolkit of how to kind of surrender to a feeling or a thought as they come up. I don't know that one is better than the other. I think the best one is the one that you do most frequently, that feels most comfortable to you. And so I encourage you to try these different modalities and see what works for you. A lot of times for me, I use all of them. I use both of them. This certain scenario, self-inquiry might be more appropriate. This other one, I'm going to just kind of accept that I had a feeling or a thought, allow it, release it, and then replace it. And it really is kind of situational. And some of this can even be more practical, right? Like you might be in the middle of a conversation and you're like, well, I'm not going to close my eyes like a weird person and, practice self-inquiry, but maybe I can just go, oh, look at that little thought. Oh, cool. Noted. Psh, move on. And that might be enough for you. So definitely try these out. Let me know what you think. And yeah, there's plenty more tools that you could probably explore too online. If you like this video, you know what to do. And we'll see you on the next one.